Hello, guys, and welcome to the next sort of episode podcast with myself and Nathan. And what we're going to talk about today is imposter syndrome and how imposter syndrome could be potentially holding you back, but not for potentially the reasons that you actually think so. So, Nathan and I have wrote a few things down that we want to discuss here over bullet points that we think that would really, really help you as coaches, make sure that you feel confident in what you're posting, but also understand that being an imposter or feeling imposter is not necessarily a bad thing either. So, Nathan, do you want to give your reason, like thoughts on imposter syndrome, etc.?
Yeah, so like obviously I've had imposter syndrome. I still do to this day, which we'll go through uh in a little bit of a while. But um obviously imposter syndrome is kind of where you feel like you're not valid enough to or clever enough to actually do your job or to post on social media or to coach clients to get results, whatever. And I've had this in the past and obviously earlier on in my career, like I said, I still have it to this day where I just thought, how can I ask somebody for X amount of money when I don't really know what I'm doing?
Yeah,
And we've kind of all got to start somewhere at some point. But equally, you've all got to make mistakes along the way in order to learn, which helps you improve your imposter syndrome somewhat. Because if you're making mistakes, but you're learning from them, and that's bettering you as a coach, you gain in experience then. And the experience gained actually helps offset the imposter syndrome, so to speak. So if you are feeling like a little bit of an imposter at the minute, then use it to your advantage. Yeah. And how I used it to my advantage was I just fucking got my head in the books and I learned.
yeah.
I learned from different people. I didn't take no for an answer. I just, if I didn't know it, then I'd go and learn about it. Yeah. And that actually helped my imposter syndrome, funnily enough, because I felt more confident. It's lacking confidence, imposter syndrome. You're lacking confidence in your own ability, or maybe you've not got the ability or the experience yet. That's okay because it'll come in time. You can't, there's no fast track to this, somewhat. Actually, there is a little bit by learning more quicker. Yeah. But it does come with experience.
So I can't remember if it was Chris Williamson or it was someone on them lines talked about this imposter syndrome and how it's we should always be putting ourselves in situations where we feel like an imposter because that means we're pushing ourselves time to time, putting ourselves into situations where we don't feel like we belong, as Nathan just said then. And how then you make yourself feel like you belong in that is then making yourself so confident in that environment by understanding where you are, what you need to be doing, etc. But then once you feel comfortable in that environment, you should then go and step into another environment that you don't feel comfortable. And that's how growth happens all the time. So with me and Nathan both saying that we feel like an imposter nowadays, it's because Nathan and I keep striving to understand more, put ourselves in situations where it's like, oh, shit, what's the answer? And then we go away and find the answer. But if you're a coach right now and you're feeling like an imposter, you've got to figure out what the reason is why. And as Nathan said, it's most probably knowledge. Most probably knowledge with the clients that you work with. You don't actually know what you should be doing, and you might be just having a guess. And there's nothing wrong with having a guess from time to time because sometimes you need to do that, make mistakes, etc. But they should be educated guesses. There should be educated guesses based off facts that you know that should work. So, for example, if a client is, you're trying to make a client lose body fat, and it's like, do I reduce the carbohydrates? Do I make them do more cardio? Do I make them do more? The initial thought is a guess. You're guessing that this is right for the client, and then you're going to take data about if it works or not. But it's an educated guess off based what you know the client is going to respond well to, in your opinion, based off other things. So again, when it comes to imposter syndrome, it's like if you utilize it in a positive way, where it's like you're in an environment where you don't feel comfortable. Like Nathan and I potentially when we've been speaking in front of people at one point, it's like shit, this is like quite a big deal. Like people are listening to you talk, and it can be a little bit nerve-wracking, but that's because you put yourself in a situation that you've never been before. And then when you've done it a few times, it gets a little bit easier. Then you're speaking to front of more people, and it gets a little bit harder. Or you go to speak at a more prestige events, and it gets a little bit harder again. But keep putting yourself in them situations means that you're growing and developing in some way, shape, or form. And you just got to make sure you keep educating yourself and backing yourself up to understand that. Then if anyone asks you a question, because I think that's what everyone's afraid of, is people questioning your the reasons why you're doing things. If you've got the knowledge, you can back it up. And if you don't have the knowledge, you need to back it up. Because once you
Mhm.
can back things up, then you can have a lot more confidence in yourself.
Yeah. And with imposter syndrome, like using it to your advantage, and people who don't have it probably are more experienced,
Mhm.
or they've probably had the head in the books. Maybe they've gone to university and studied something to do with nutrition or biomechanics or something like that. So they don't feel like an imposter because they've done a lot of learning. So, but the people who feel like an imposter probably haven't done that much
Hmm.
learning in the respective field, which was me. And I hold my hand up, was me. Yeah. When I first became a PT, I didn't really know what calories were.
Yeah.
Didn't really know what macros were. I knew I didn't even know how to train properly
Mhm.
when I look back, yeah. But you all got to start somewhere, and as long as you recognize that you don't know as much and are willing to be open to putting yourself in a room where there's people who know a lot more about you, about nutrition and training than you, that's when you'll grow. The uncomfortableness is where you'll grow. And you can't get much more uncomfortable than being an imposter. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're comfortable day to day. So put yourself in that environment where you're willing to grow, willing to be open and willing, and therefore you will end up succeeding eventually.
Yeah, and that's like because me and Nathan are now going to talk about times when we've been wrong, and there's definitely times where I know I've been wrong and things I've said and stated, and at the end they just took. And this is the beauty about this industry when you know the right people. So I can remember I'd done a post once, and then one of my people who have learnt off a lot was in my DMs just saying you've miscalculated this. So he didn't type in the comment section. He didn't do a video over my video and all this bullshit that happens nowadays. If you've got people who you've learned off and they respect you enough, they will privately message you and say you've miscalculated this. So like it's okay to post stuff on social media is what I'm trying to say because again the people who are actually matter, they will and they want you to be better coaches. They will make you a better coach by speaking to you individually. They won't try and embarrass you. And again, don't forget when you're posting as well, you're only trying to help one person. So as long as you are you're delivering all the information that you know in the best way possible, you're doing yourself a service. But at the same time for that, always understand that you need to keep progressing that education, that knowledge, because again, that means you can help more people by posting more good, valuable content.
Yeah, and with posting as well, like you only want to post stuff that you know.
Yeah, yeah,
You know what I mean? Like you don't want to post stuff that you don't know because you're going to get clients who potentially think you know more than you do. And then when they actually come onto your coaching program and they realize after 2 months that you don't know as much as you're making out that you know, then you end up becoming an imposter. Yeah. So you want to just post the way you become more confident at posting is post the stuff that you know about, first of all. Then have the brain space to go and learn more and then start applying that and then start posting about that. Yeah, as long as it's relevant to your clientele and your target audience and all that type of bullshit. But it is just literally about outworking your imposter syndrome. That's what this is about. You've got to outwork it. Yeah, you can't just sit there, feel sorry for yourself, feel a victim, and go, "Oh, I don't know much." Go and fucking learn it then.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, literally go get out there, get buy some books on something that you don't know about, whether that be hormones, gut health, training mechanics, length and partials, whatever the fuck it is. Go and learn about them. Yeah, get a book, get a mentor, join an education program, do something. Yeah, that works on the area that you're least confident in, and outwork your imposter syndrome.
And something just to add on that, Nathan, it's never been easier to get this information now. Like when me and Nathan started this, what, over 10 years ago, it was like you had to go to physically go to courses, so you had to travel and go and listen to people speak. Online education wasn't really a thing as much back then. There were certain books, but again, you had to buy the books. I don't think even Amazon was that big of a thing 10 years ago.
No,
So you
no.
had to go to you had to buy off actual websites, not just Amazon. So it's never been easier. No, but the one thing that coaches struggle with now as well, and what I've seen is they don't know what they don't know. So because they're not putting themselves in these environments, because everyone thinks the most important thing is like the latest reel, etc. They're not putting themselves in these environments where these other educated coaches are talking about things for them to actually understand that they don't know something. So me and you will have a chat like we've had before, and it's like you'll say something or I'll say something, and it's like I haven't thought about that before. So it give that prompts us to go, okay, there's a lack of knowledge within the way I think, and then you go away and learn about it.
And that's why our case study calls are so good.
Yeah.
Because people bring client case studies to the call, their own individual clients, what they're struggling with, what they think the problem is, how they would next help this client, and then we help them with the case study. But then there's over people on the call, so everyone learns about from it. Like for example, we had a client bring um, some bloods, and this client was nutrient deficient, potentially had Hashimoto's. Everyone learned a shit ton of
Mhm.
information, yeah, which was brilliant. Yeah. So, and that's people putting themselves in an uncomfortable environment, but also thriving from it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And that's how people on a mentorship program thrive and become probably the top 10% of coaches in the country due to just literally doing our program for probably 6 to 12 months.
And it's a thing of they're willing to say they don't know. They're willing
Hmm.
to put themselves in a situation, but where they probably feel like a bit of an imposter, where it's like they're a coach, but now they're going, okay, there's more I need to learn. And then they're learning it, and then they're applying it, and then they're seeing the results from it. And then that's how then but then the beauty is you suddenly find something that you're passionate in. So you're obviously passionate in nutrition, gut health, etc. And I'm passionate in training. So when you learn loads of things, you find out what your little, I hate the word niche, but your little niche is. And then you go away and you keep learning, keep learning, keep learning. Because one of my biggest pet peeves is when people say they know how to train, and it's like, I've been doing this for like 12 years and I still don't know how to train properly. There's so much education around everything else. People go, I understand hormones. It's like, you don't. Do you know what I mean?
There's
Like,
so
like there's so many levels, and when you become like where me and Nathan have learned off a lot of people, you realize that there's people who specialize in just one aspect of what we know something at. And it's like
Mhm.
there's just levels to everything, and you don't necessarily need to learn things at that level, but at the same time, if you are passionate about something, you'll want to. And then got to make sure, say for example, like myself, I'm passionate about training, but I've still got to make sure I understand gut health, nutrition, mindset to some degree, because we're not psychologists, but understanding mindset, like how to ask questions, communication, all these, you still need to make sure you understand all them to a very, very high level. Because then you can deliver the best service to your clients.
And that brings me on to our next point of that we both still have imposter syndrome today at certain
So
points. And I think you should always have it to a certain
I've
degree.
got a perfect one. Do you want me to call with Austin that time?
Yeah, yeah,
Because like I had a GI map done, and Nathan understood a lot more than what I didn't have a fucking Scooby. Like that's one of the few times I've sat on a call and felt absolutely thick. But then it just made me realize that there's so much more to learn.
exactly. And there's so much more than there's so many people out there who know more than yourself, and that's okay. There always is going to be,
Yeah, of
but
course.
aim to learn from them people.
Yeah.
So if you are wanting to learn a bit more, we do have a next in education mentorship intake. So that starts on the 1st of August. So we are taking deposits for the next intake to secure your place. What we also have is we have a seminar that's on the 19th of April, where it's from 12 till 4. Tickets are live, they're £95 each. And I'm going to be going through how gut health will affect fat loss. Ali's going to be going through
Training and the principles of training.
cool. And this is in the Wirral, Liverpool, at a gym there. Is that
Not
not?
not technically the will Liverpool, but
Well, I
people
think
from Liverpool will be
know
offended by
people know the Wirral at
that.
Liverpool.
Yeah.
I think anyway. But sorry, all you Scousers out there that I've maybe just offended there. But that is on Saturday the 19th. Yeah. So if you want to have any more information about either of these, please DM the N Education page, and we'll be happy to help.
Hopefully this podcast helped you, and we'll speak to you soon.